Good evening, boys and girls. It's Miss Miranda for In-Home Learning. Now we're going to switch gears and we're going to read some stories. Miss Miranda chose to be outside, so if you hear birds in the background or hear anything like that, that's because Miss Miranda's sitting outside on her porch swing because it's cool to find different places to read your story. So Miss Miranda's going to start with reading her story in her swing to you today. Sorry. Remember that when we read a story, it's important that we talk about who wrote it and what they did. So let's look at this one. It's called The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. And we've been reading several stories by Dr. Seuss in the classroom. Dr. Seuss had a great way of rhyming words and making stories beautiful and fun for everyone to listen to and to read. So pay attention to the words. Listen to the story, turn your ears on, turn your eyes on, and make sure you're sitting in a quiet area. So let's start with what we do in the classroom. Cover, 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 back. Cover, 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 back, and spine, and spine, and spine. So, The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. I bet some of you have this story at home. Some of you have maybe even watched the movie about the Lorax. This is one of Miss Miranda's favorite stories. Look at this tree. Do our trees look like this tree? It's fluffy on top and has a long trunk. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax? And why is it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, the old onceler still lives here. Ask him, he knows. Take a look at the water dripping. His house looks a little different than maybe what our house would look like. You won't see the onceler. Don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkum on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffled moof. And on special dark midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you perhaps, if you're willing to pay. You see him peeking out right here? The onceler. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail, and the shell of a great-great-great-great-grandfather's snail. Well, then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in the snug, his secret strange hole in his grooveless glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whisper-ma-phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Down slips the whisper-ma-phone to your ear, and the old onceler's whispers are not very clear. since they have to come down through a snarly hole, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green and the pond was still wet and the clouds were still clean and the songs of the swami swans rang out in space, one morning I came to this glorious place. And I first saw the trees, the Truffula Trees, the bright colored tufts of the Truffula Trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. See how clear it is? The sun shining, the trees are growing, everybody's happy. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the rippleless pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. But those trees, those Truffula trees, all my life I've been searching for the trees as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what to do. I unloaded my cart. The oncelers. In no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. And with great skillful skill and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. There he's knitting it. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump. I looked. I saw something pop out of the stump. On the tree I just chopped down, it was sort of a man. Describe him, that's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpest and bossy. Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues. And I am asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed. That's the thing you've made out of my truffula tuft? Oh my, he's very upset because he cut down the tree to make this. What would happen if all the trees were cut down? Should he be upset? Should he have cut down the truffula tree? Think about that. Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed, I find something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains or covers for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that full thneed. Would you like to have one of those? But the very next minute, I proved he was wrong. For just at that minute, a chap came along, and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy. Oh no, look here. How are they feeling? Uh-oh. I repeat, cried the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shut up, if you please. I rushed across the room and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called on my brothers and uncles and aunts and I said, listen here. Here's a wonderful chance for the whole onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road, North Nitch. Turn left at Weekend Walk. Sharp right at South Stitch. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole onceler family was working full tilt. What are they all doing in there? We were all knitting needs, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of the Truffula trees. Oh no. They're chopping down all the trees. Then, oh baby, oh how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 Truffula trees at one smacker. We were making needs 4 times as fast before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. Oh my. What's going to happen if he keeps chopping and chopping and chopping all the trees? But the next week he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. So, now thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go around. And my poor baby barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. So because he's chopping all the trees, the bears don't have the right kind of food to eat, so they're getting sick. What a problem. Oh my. Oh no. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, as he sent them away. I, the onceler, felt sad, but as I watched them go, business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. That is not using your heart for kindness. The bears are having to leave because he was cutting down all the trees. That's selfish. I meant no harm. I most truly did not. But I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory. I biggered my roads. I biggered my wagons. I biggered the loads. Of the needs I shipped out, I was shipping them forth to south, to east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more needs, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Oh. Take a look around. What's happening to the sky now? Is it clear and blue? Are there any animals swimming? The bears are all gone. And what's happening to the trees? Cutting them all down. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes, and that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax, he coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffed. He snarled, he sniffed. Onceler, he cried with the croak. Onceler, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor sweet swami swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. Another animal affected. Oh my. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here. Once more snapped the Lorax. His dander was up. Let me say a few words about gluppity glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making gluppity glup, also sloppity slop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you. You dirty old onceler man, you. Wonder where it's going. The air's not clean anymore. The trees are all gone. The machines are making gloop. Oh no. You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. I wouldn't want to live there, would you? But the Lorax is trying his best to help him understand that what he's doing is hurting everyone around him. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax. Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yappity yap and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more Truffula Trees into needs, which everyone needs. Unkind again. Oh. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last Truffula tree of them all. No more trees, no more needs. No more work to be done, no so. So in no time, my uncles and aunts, every one, all waved me goodbye. I jumped into my cars and drove away under the smog-smugged stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big, empty factory, the Lorax and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad, backward glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. So everyone's gone, there's nothing here of the Lorax left. All that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago. But each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So, catch, calls the onceler. He lets something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds, and truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula. Treat it with care. Give it clean water and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest. Protect it from axes that hack, then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. So, boys and girls, was there a problem in the story? Yes, a big problem. There once was all of these beautiful truffula trees, lots of beautiful sky and animals healthy and singing and having a good time. And then because one person didn't make a good choice and was selfish about what he wanted, he destroyed everything around him. And when it was all done, there was no animals, no trees, no people, no anything, just a big empty factory. And you remember that word in the story, unless? Guess what's so cool about that word? Our world that we live in around us has so many beautiful things and trees and nature and animals and things that you and me need to protect. So how can we do that? Can we plant trees? Yes. Can we take care of our environment and reduce and reuse and recycle? Yes. Can we do all of those things? Can we use our heart for kindness in everything that we do? Yes, just like the Lorax. He was helping the trees because they didn't really have a voice. So he said, nothing's going to change unless you fix it. So Miss Miranda is going to challenge you to take your family and go outside and look around. See what kind of trees you see. See if anything's flowering or blooming. See if new things are growing. And when you get done, I want you to go back inside and draw and illustrate something from the story and write a sentence or two at the bottom telling Miss Miranda what you learned about the story called The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. See you next time.